It's been a pretty enormous day for supporters of President Donald Trump, and we've got an equally important episode of the Intelligence Assessment with Kevin Shipp with special guest Mike Moore. Gentlemen, hello.
Jason, Mike, hello.
Hey guys, hey Kevin, thanks for having me on your show.
Good to see
Now,
you guys.
refresh my memory. Is this the first time you guys have done a show? We've done it once before, haven't we?
Yeah, we've done at least one, at least. That was a couple months ago, but yeah, at least one.
So this
Jason,
is going to
you're
be a
losing it, man.
special. I mean, it's, 3 shows a day, all these shows.
You do 3 or 4 shows a day. You can't keep track. Yeah,
That's right.
we've been on here together. Yeah.
This is always a good combo because, of course, Kevin's experience with the CIA, Mike's experience working in private intelligence and being embedded as a journalist with the DEA and all the federal agencies that he's spoken to us about before. We're going to get some great detail tonight, I think, when people join us on our sponsor exclusive program, which tonight is going to appear not only on the Patreon and Subscribestar channels for Kevin and for Crowdsource the Truth, but also for sponsors of True Pundit on Patreon. So this is a multicast that people will be able to enjoy, and I'm really looking forward to it. What do you guys think about the latest development and President Trump's acquittal?
Go ahead, Mike.
Well, I think folks should belly up and support a guy like Shipp. The guy's the real deal. I don't go on too many shows for a reason, because a lot of the guys out there are full of you-know-what. So, and we're very particular on who we pick. And so Kevin has a history of being truthful and honest, in my opinion, because a lot of the things he says are the things that I'm hearing behind the scenes, talking to guys who are either still in the shop, or everybody says, "Oh, you're a shop guy. You're a shop guy. You're a shop guy." That doesn't mean we're all shopping together online. You know what I mean? At Amazon or something. It means, well, you're a shop guy. You're a shop guy. You're in the shop, or you were in the shop, or you're still in the shop. The intel. So, folks should support this guy. He's been through the ringer. He's a true whistleblower. He's not like this other chump who came out of the woodwork and they said, "Oh, he's a whistleblower." And the next thing you know, he has police at his house protecting him. This is like, this isn't, we've talked about this. This isn't how real whistleblowers are treated. So I just want to throw that out there because there's not a whole lot of folks bringing the heat, so to speak, and out here. There's a lot of hype. There's a lot of misdirection. There's a lot of misinformation. It's frustrating as a news consumer, as an intelligence consumer, to try to pick and choose who's for real. So I just want to throw that out there. So what do I think about all this? It's like it's a bad act. It's a bad play. Like the Dems, they keep throwing pasta against the wall to see what sticks, and less of it is sticking on a regular basis. And the issue is, gentlemen, is that our country is now losing steam. We could be using the resources that they're spending on this, and also the time that they're taking away from the White House, to be moving in a positive direction for our country. But we're stuck in quicksand with all these scandals. We talked about that earlier this week, and Trump can't focus on the business at hand, so to speak. So these guys are nefarious. They don't even care about the direction of the country, the condition of the country, the economy of the country, etc. Everything's about personal gain for them. They're very selfish, and that's my thoughts on it. It's just another chapter of selfishness and now it's self-loathing, so to speak, I guess you could say. But it's frustrating as a patriot to see that we're stuck in the mud here.
Yeah. And there's a lot of stories, of course, on True Pundit today, Mike, about some of the fallout. Mitt Romney obviously voting with the Democrats, and, Trump vowed to declassify intelligence related to the death of a Border Patrol agent with the Fast and Furious. Of course, Obama had his scandal-free presidency. Kevin, what can you say from the standpoint of the whistleblower whose name we don't want to mention? He's been, we know he's working for the State Department / CIA. Are we about to shift this Trump versus deep state war into high gear?
Well, thanks, Jason, and thank you, Mike. It's great having you on. You're one of the best out there, in my opinion. So I appreciate the kind words. We need to understand where this impeachment started, and that's what we'll be talking about it in detail. Is this did not start with a whistleblower? This man, Charmella, is how you pronounce it, is not a whistleblower. He's a plant, and he's a leaker. And his so-called whistleblower report was not even written by him; it's written by Adam Schiff's attorneys. So now that Trump is acquitted, and I think this very, very well may happen with some of the statements that Lindsey Graham has made recently, they may actually go after Charmella and hold him accountable for this seditious thing he engaged in with this false report, which was nothing but hearsay. And we know that the intelligence community inspector general actually changed the whistleblower report form to allow hearsay, second and third hand information. As a whistleblower, I can tell you that is shocking that Atkinson did that to allow room for this operational plant who was put in the White House by John Brennan to come in and be used by Schiff, which in essence, it's filing a false claim, but that's just the smallest part of it. This was a seditious activity. It was an operation to try to remove a sitting president of the United States. That's how serious this is. So that Trump is acquitted now, and that's great. We all kind of knew that was coming. But I think, excuse me, now there are some people that need to be held accountable for some very felonious activity, and that would be Eric Ciaramella, that would be Adam Schiff, that would be Inspector General of the Intelligence Community, Michael Atkinson, and ultimately it could lead back to John Brennan himself. I think, based on what I'm hearing, that's where this is going to go now, as it should, and I'm right in there pulling for him, man, that they bring these three people to justice.
Yeah, I've got no problem with the CIA marshmallow being held to account, but I mean, isn't it true that that young guy is just kind of like a patsy, a stooge, a guy that they got in there to do their dirty work? Adam Schiff shuffled him out of the way right away. I love the idea of holding Adam Schiff accountable. But what about these three rogues? Aren't these the guys who are really in need of being brought to justice?
Yeah, I tell you, if you ever want to see Operation Mockingbird in one picture, here you go. All three of these guys are now pundits on CNN, MSNBC. Two of them on the right, they're actually being paid as senior analysts. So behold, Operation Mockingbird. But Trump has alluded to James Comey. He did today in a very ominous tone, kind of through the side of his mouth, indicating that that's kind of where Durham is going, and so we'll see about that. But you're right. This is where it all started, Jason. This is where the soft coup, the Russia collusion hoax began. And just real quickly, and then I'll let Mike chime in. It was in Ukraine that the Russia collusion hoax was born, with Alexander Chalupa and some of the others that contacted the Russian oligarchs who contacted Christopher Steele, or vice versa. He contacted them, and then the dossier came out. But it was also in Ukraine that Eric Ciaramella was the analyst that Brennan put in the White House to oversee Ukraine, and who was in contact with George Soros related organizations. So Ciaramella goes all the way back to the cradle of the Russia collusion coup, and all the way back to the Obama administration's interactions with Ukraine, and that includes Joe Biden, whom we now know Ciaramella was working for or with in the Ukraine support that was being provided by the Obama administration. So this so-called whistleblower goes way back.
Yeah. Now, Mike, do we have any confidence that the Department of Justice is going to hold these big fish accountable? It seems like Christopher Wray and William Barr are sort of bedfellows protecting some of these people.
It's hard to say. It's I know there's a lot of noise out there about this guy is some kind of Holy Ghost, Barr being like the Holy Ghost. People get mad when I tell the truth. Yeah, I don't know. I'll run this by Kevin. I think there are people out there that literally get mad when you tell them the truth. I've been doing this for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
And it's like, how dare you say that? It might be true, but can't you give us hope? It's like,
hey, Mike, you're right. Remember, Jason?
I don't understand it.
You're so right, Mike. When Jason, remember we did the first show on William Barr, and a real well-known author and commentator tweeted out and called me the son of Satan for questioning. It was Mark Dice for questioning William Barr going all the way back to Iran-Contra.
Huh. All right, but Dice is like an entertainer. He doesn't really know politics.
Yeah, Well, he pulled
guy.
He pulled that tweet, I think, in about 4 hours. That bad boy was gone.
Well, he's a good guy, and I like what he does. But at the same time, I got decades in this. You got decades in this, so Dice
Yeah,
can go write
and
a book about something else.
and I like Mark Dice. I got one of his books. I think he writes great books. I think
he's a funny guy.
Yeah, he's a funny guy, and I think we all brain fart and tweet sometimes, and sometimes we tweet with an adult beverage in our hand. But so he's forgiven. But we took some heat for the bar spot that we did.
Well, my point with Barr is, Kev, right? Show me the money. Remember that movie, Show Me the Money?
Yeah.
Like it's time for us to see the money.
Yeah.
We've been in there long enough. Been in there since February last year, right? Doesn't take a year to indict people.
Yeah. Darn right.
Put cases together. You could put a hell of a case together in 6-7 months.
Yeah.
Get in front of a grand jury in 3-4 months. So where's the beef? And I know that there was some talk about in the last week and a half, I'm not going to say who was a national guy, and I'm not going to get involved in that, but he said that there's definitely a grand jury in Connecticut. I'm not hearing that there's a grand jury in Connecticut. I'm not hearing that. So
me neither.
If there was a grand jury, it would leak.
Yeah.
There would be people talking about it. And we happen to have, I don't know why, but I happen to have good connections in Connecticut. I'm surprised this thing landed in Connecticut because my connections in Connecticut are better than my connections in New York. So I'm sitting here waiting like Pavlov's dog. I'm salivating, waiting to hear something coming out of Connecticut. And there's no grand jury. So until there's a grand jury, I'm like, okay, this is all like Fox News. Ooh, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. Not unless there's a grand jury, nothing's going to happen. So that's kind of like where I'm coming from on Barr until I see something from him. Now we're a year in, and don't forget we've been down this road with Huber and Sessions. How many times do we have to go down the same road before we start to wise up a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are we not in new?
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Are we not in new territory now that the impeachment is over? Trump seemed really powerful in his speech in the East Room this morning. It's like a very invigorated Trump, and he was pretty invigorated before.
Well, he's invigorated. I think it's more than that. He's after scalps, as he should be. And the tone of his voice was, fasten your seatbelts, wicked. We're coming after you now. And that's what I think was coming out of Trump today. So I think we're going to see some action in that regard. And I want to echo what Mike said. Where's the beef with Attorney General Barr? He's had plenty of time, and a lot of this information that he's investigating is already out there. The evidence is already there. It didn't even need to be investigated. So, we're hoping. We're wishing for the best. We want to believe what the president says about Attorney General Barr. I know, as Mike probably does, that investigations are very detailed when you're talking about maybe perp walking a federal official. It's something that takes a long time to get all the details right. So, we kind of wait with anticipated hope. But by the same token, we got one eye open because Attorney General Barr is a Fed. and being a recovering Fed myself, that's a particular kind of mindset you got to always, kind of keep an eye open and watch out for.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. That's a good way. That's a really good way of putting it.
Very, very skeptical.
I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer. Okay. As a patriot. Okay. I think we all fall into this category, right? We're doing this stuff with the news, and we do shows, and we're all tweeting and stuff, and we're presenting the news through our own personal prism, right? That's one side of us. And then all of us, this goes for everybody watching, are patriots, and we want something to happen. Don't get me wrong. I want something to happen. But the other side of me is saying, wait a minute, why isn't anything happening? So for me, it's like a personal tug of war on a daily basis.
Yeah, exactly.
It's hard, because I want something to happen, and I want to be wrong. I'll be the first guy to say, hey man, I was wrong. That's a good thing. I can be wrong. I'm not some ego head. But come on, let's get this party started type thing.
Yeah, you're right. And absolutely, if Barr starts kicking some we're all going to be a bunch of really happy wrong guys, I think, because that's what we want to see happen. Yeah.
Well, now is the time with the impeachment thing out of the way. I mean, I think from a strategic standpoint, that was important. A lot of people would argue that Joe Biden might have announced his presidential candidacy simply to be able to say that any investigation into him or his cokehead son was a political maneuver. There is a story actually right now on TruePundit.com, which is telling us that Republican senators are taking new action investigating Hunter Biden after the impeachment vote. We'll have an opportunity to get into some detail about that story, Mike, when we begin our sponsor exclusive broadcast just 15 minutes from now. It's going to be a special episode of the Intelligence Assessment with Kevin Shipp. We're going to have it simulcast, of course, on the Crowdsource the Truth channels, Kevin Shipp's Patreon and Subscribestar channel, and also on patreon.com/TruePundit. I want to take a minute to let everybody know that in addition to editing True Pundit, making snarky comments on More Pain every Tuesday night, interfacing with the feds and getting some of the best law enforcement information that anybody in the news business has, Mike Moore is also now the front man on a top 10 podcast that has rocketed to the top of the lists. It's the Thomas Paine Podcast. You can get it on iTunes, on Spotify, and elsewhere. Mike, you just interviewed the mother of Brian Terry about that ridiculously irresponsible program, Fast and Furious, and how it cost Brian his life. I think everybody is really hopeful that President Trump will stay true to his promise and declassify information about this Fast and Furious thing. Frankly, it would be helpful to him as well because it's going to expose more corruption in the Obama administration, isn't it right?
I think something that we don't even know about this guy. I think something bad happened to this guy on purpose. I've been looking into it, and it's a delicate line, right? Because the Terry family is trying to find out what happened from the Justice Department because Obama locked all the records down, and Trump says he's going to declassify these records. I think something bad happened to this guy because information came out in this podcast from talking to her, and I just called her up and talked to her like a normal human being. I was like, excuse me, can I ask you a bunch of questions? I'm just talking to her, right?
Right.
She told me that Brian Terry blew the whistle on this scheme, that he knew something was going on. He was he was afraid for his life, but he also wrote the union 3 letters before his death. We didn't know anything. We didn't know anything about this.
Wow.
We didn't know anything about this. So remember that see something, say something, guys.
Yeah.
You know, see something. This guy saw something and he said something, and he ended up dead.
No,
Right.
Now, it's insane. So I think there's something much deeper. Like there are a lot. Now, whether that stuff comes out, I don't know. It's just a gut feeling as like an investigator. Something is way off with this. And this guy was keeping secret notes and is hiding secret notes about stuff that was going on in Arizona. And
Wow.
and here's the disturbing part. And I'll just end it real quick because I know we're on time. He got murdered from the Department of Justice program, and then they raided his house. The FBI raided his house. What
WTF with that? Yeah.
Yeah, they raided his house. The U.S. attorney locked his house down. His parents couldn't even get into the house ever.
I mean, but
And
Kevin, isn't this
insane.
the treatment that whistleblowers normally get? You blow the whistle on something really corrupt, and they just come and knock you out.
That mirrors so much of what I went through. They broke into our house, painted chemicals on the ceiling. Our family was deathly ill. We were followed. They broke into my house again when we moved to Virginia. Oh man, this smells like that.
Yeah,
to
this
me.
is off, and
Yeah.
it's difficult because his mom's old. You can't really say, "Hey, did you ever think that something really bad?" Because she's like, so this is just me saying it. She didn't say that, but what she lays out is beyond disturbing, and it's stuff I've never heard before. And I'm not patting myself on the back. I actually wish that she would have just given me a pretty bland interview like everybody else. It still would have been a good interview. But she's dropping things, and I'm saying, "What? This is what?" They
Wow.
took his computers. They blanked his computers at the FBI. It's like, what? What's going on here? So it stinks. The whole thing stinks even worse than before. And hopefully we can get to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. The guy is dead. He's dead.
Right.
The
Well,
federal
people will be
agent is
looking-
dead.
People will be looking for more reporting on Brian Terry and Trump's promised declassification of Fast and Furious on TruePundit.com. People should also check out Kevin's website if you haven't seen Kevin before, and if you're not familiar with his ordeal blowing the whistle on a major security breach through our embassies that would have allowed people who knew about it and could hack into the system just by walking up to it at an embassy to expose the clandestine identities of our operatives around the world. Kevin revealed this, something you'd think the CIA would want to fix, but instead they fixed him. People can purchase his book from the Company of Shadows on fortheloveoffreedom.net. Gentlemen, we're just about out of time, so we're going to head over to Patreon and Subscribestar, where we'll get in depth on some of these topics and more. I should also remind people, if you've been watching us right now on Crowdsource the Truth, you can see simulcasts of the intelligence assessment preview shows on the Kevin Shipp YouTube channel. So if you're not yet subscribed, we've got 190 people viewing over there, and that's a good thing. But if you're not watching, get over to Kevin Shipp's YouTube channel, where you can see his extensive library of videos where Kevin reveals the shadow government and the deep state and talks in depth about the connections between those two different entities and how dangerous they are. Gentlemen, I'll see you in just a few minutes on Patreon and Subscribestar.
Looking forward
Thanks,
to
man.
it.
Thanks for watching, everybody. See you over there.